Luke Eagle, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, DB.
Mate, let's jump into it. So I thought before, given you're head of sales now for PSC, one of the fastest growing brokerages in the country, and before we dive into that, I want to go back to Luke Eagle, business, maybe even growing up. So tell us a bit about Luke Eagle, and the journey that you've taken before today, before where you've got to today in business.
Yep.
In your own words, give us a bit of a background.
Yeah, so grew up in Newcastle, reside in Sydney now. Studied Newcastle University, finished my study, then was working at Allianz Insurance at the time.
Yep.
Very swiftly was transferred to Sydney in the workers' compensation division into a sales role. 9 years at Allianz. Left Allianz and then went into a general insurance brokerage, Milne Alexander. Had a great time there. More sort of focused on new business schemes, specialty in regards to workers' compensation, work health and safety and the like. Left there and then started up my own business.
Yeah, right.
Approaching 10 years ago.
Right.
And the rest is history.
So then let's go into you starting your own business.
Mm-hmm.
Was business ownership something that you always wanted to do, or was it something that you thought the opportunity presented itself? Did you have desires of that from day one? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my mum was in business.
Yep.
I thought I'd be a sports physiotherapist.
Right.
Being a bit of a eager sportsman as a young kid. Now, it wasn't any good, but I tried. And physiotherapy wasn't achievable with the marks. So straight into business, following mum's footsteps. And very early into my studies, I thought that definitely business ownership was where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And purely for the purpose of, I love my own accountability.
Right.
I didn't want to be sort of working under the accountability instructions of somebody else.
Right.
To have that opportunity to be my own boss.
Yep.
Was the goal.
Yep.
And purely was then, it was a plan at the time of leaving Allianz.
Right.
And Milne Alexander was sort of always a bit of a transition to get into broking because there was definitely an opportunity where I could see what these broking principles, what they were earning, what they were achieving, what the businesses look like.
Yep.
And look, it's a very simple business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So took the plunge and away we went.
Yeah, right.
So it's been an interesting journey. So approaching 10 years next year, mid next year.
Yep.
And it's been one hell of a ride.
Yeah, certainly has. So, I mean, we've been really fortunate to have seen your journey, particularly over the last, probably about 8 years.
Yep.
And so, as you've gone into your own business, which is Eagle Eye, from memory, tell us about that business. Obviously, we were able to be connected by way of your international team, but tell us about your going into business for yourself, how you structured the international team, why you did it. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so starting the business up, I was sort of fortunate enough to have a bit of time to think about it.
Yep.
What was the business plan? What was the structure of the business? What was the long-term plan in regards to what's our target customer type and the like? So one of those parts of the business plan was then obviously staff structuring, costs, operational. And then it was then including offshore staff.
Right.
So it started as offshoring.
Right.
That then led to a journey in regards to researching the providers at the time. So 9 years ago, in my opinion, and you'd be able to help me out here, the landscaping of offshoring is definitely not what it is today.
Yeah, agree.
But I was pretty quick to then sort of bring it down to sort of 2 to 3 providers, and particularly with ASW having a much differentiated model to what was the sort of the standard. So that sort of led me to where we are.
You travelled across?
Yes, with you.
Yeah, we had a good time
with you.
So tell us about that experience. Was it what you expected, or what were you expecting going into that?
Yeah, so funnily, that was right at the time of opening up.
Yeah.
So that was the start of the business then. Pretty risky just opening a business and jumping sort of on a plane and going overseas. But, that was all only achievable because of the team that I had. I started off with a staff member. she's still with the business and has been fantastic the whole time, allowing me those types of opportunities to do those activities. So we jumped on a plane, we went over, and now the purpose of going over was, I really needed to sort of decide, understand, and I wanted to build a relationship, and ASW offering the opportunity to interview was important because of others that I was sort of engaged and chatting with at the time. That wasn't a model. It was just a case of you were getting a staff member, and the discussions with those providers was heavily involved in sort of administration.
Right.
Administration tasks, reducing cost of administration and the like. And I was really looking for somebody in regards to who could offer a little bit more than administration, which, I knew that was available.
Sure.
But with going over, I definitely discovered that there was more than what I envisaged prior to.
Right. Has working with an international team, particularly as a young business owner, you've gone from almost like a 0 to 11 type approach. One is you started a new business. Two is you've built an international team. Was that harder than was doing that harder than what you anticipated, or perhaps was it easier than you thought it might have been?
To be honest, easier.
Right.
Initially, I sort of had prepared myself thinking of, potential challenges and what sort of could be.
Yep.
But my first employee, offshore employee, if we put it that way, politely, because the team have always been the same.
Yep.
They've never been treated differently or anything of the like. So it was just a staff member, which was staff member number 2. So interviewed, then obviously follow through with the recruitment. And from there, they've just been treated as a standard staff member.
Yep.
There hasn't been any sort of differentiation. There hasn't been any difference in regards to whether that staff member be sort of working from your office, from home in Australia, or then from your office.
Yep. The standards have applied.
Yeah.
And do you think that's been the recipe for success for you in A, managing, but B, getting the cultural integration that you needed?
Yeah. So obviously businesses have now got comfortable with sort of having people working outside of the office, so to speak, from whatever differences or whatever reasons. And I was just able to apply what businesses are doing today or through the COVID change, let's call it, back then.
Yeah, right.
And, it was the likes of utilising technology from video calls, then, all staff meetings and engagement and the like was online for the purpose of inclusion.
Yep.
Then we did, or we have in the past and still do, organise for those staff members to come out.
Right.
And that just adds to the inclusion piece.
Yep.
So they're a part of the team.
Yeah. Love it.
But I do know other businesses and, have engaged with other businesses that treat their offshore staff very differently.
Yeah, right.
They really are sort of there for a purpose of administration task and maybe don't have the same inclusion as what I sort of applied through the business.
Do you think that became an advantage in the end of the way the business operated in the end for you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I had sections of the business had lower operational costs with staff that were adding more value to staff that then you would effectively look to recruit or employ in the local market or the local area.
Yeah, right.
So the employment cost for staffing where staffing was sort of same.
Yep.
Was significantly lower.
Yeah, right.
But I've always been very conscious in regards to rewarding those who are high performers.
Sure.
So in saying that, I probably have been somebody that has maybe paid more in bonuses or in remuneration under the standard offshoring model.
Yep.
Purely because of that first sort of number 2 staff member who was recruited with ASY is still with us today.
Yeah, incredible.
So for that purpose.
So then share with us the journey that the business has then undertaken, right? So you've kicked off, you started an international team, you're growing at, 1 million miles an hour.
Yep.
Where did you get the brokerage to by the time you'd gone through the acquisition phase?
Yeah. So it was a wild journey. So there was, after kicking the business off, there was 9 acquisitions in, let's call it a 2-year period.
Yep.
And that was the real purpose of going out on my own, let's call it, starting the business up. There was an opportunity for access to capital, and there was a situation in our industry where there was a mature business ownership situation, and there was going to be opportunity for acquisitions that was within. There was obviously some change in regulatory and things like that. So there was a lot of business owner principles that felt it was easier to exit.
Yep.
And obviously at a reduced price because of potentials that was coming, regulatory change, disclosures, and the like that could have sort of reduced valuation. So I was very actively in the sort of the M&A market.
Yep.
And with that, building the team rapidly, and then obviously integrating a lot of small businesses, portfolios into the business, then had a very, an increased sort of administration task.
Sure.
But I was able to take a lot of what other businesses would have been doing at the time to external software and the like providers, or even getting temp worker like to come in. I was able to facilitate that internally.
Yep.
And scale up quickly.
Yeah.
And scaling up quickly was then working with AS White to add on more resource from the perspective of then offshore staff.
Sure.
Because of then having the team already there, they were then facilitating the training, the onboarding and everything else.
Yep.
And I was just then providing the extra work that was required.
Yeah, right.
So to get to where we are now, it was just different sort of opportunities that come up, different partnerships that happen along the way. Then partnered with Invest, private equity. So it's been a journey with different capital providers within sort of my business, but partnered with Invest pretty early in the piece.
Yep.
And that's been a positive experience.
Yeah, right.
Definitely sort of interesting in regards to working with private equity and the like, that private equity has their own activities that's going on with their own sort of changes in shareholders and everything else, which I've been a part of that journey with Invest. But something that sort of was always, my focus or my priorities have always been the customer.
Sure.
So whilst there's all other things going on in the background, from a 9 to 5 perspective, let's just keep our eye on the prize and make sure that we're providing the customer service and, understand what is the mechanics of the business.
Yep.
Which is providing insurance services to customers at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's pretty simple when you boil it down, isn't it?
It's a very simple business model.
So, I mean, being a part of a private equity event, going through rapid growth, from yourself doing M&As, as a small business owner, acquiring opportunities along the way, then going through a private equity event, and they're still scaling and still growing, which has been really exciting to watch. For you, in 10 short years of business, that's pretty valuable experience, I would have thought.
Well, it was scary at the same time. I'm not sure if my wife calls it valuable, but...
Well, I was going to ask you that because, not only that, you've got, married with 4 daughters as well, so you've had
4 daughters,
So you've had and 4 young daughters, like you've how have you balanced that?
I did my best. So was I successful? Have I done all the right things? Everything else, it's debatable, but you can only do your best with it. So how did I balance it? Look, the early years was tough.
Yeah, right.
There was long working hours, many challenges the way, from many litigation cases that was on there, personal challenges in regards to sort of, different disagreements and disputes and whatever that come up with, from the amount of sort of acquisitions and different transactions that was happening. It was difficult, but with all of that, I did my best to be a father, be a husband. But there definitely was a bit of awakening where my wife sort of said, "Hey, you've got to turn up at home."
Yeah.
And it's been a couple of times. Don't get me wrong, because sometimes the head does get consumed with whatever business transaction, whatever's going on at the time. So I'm very, very lucky to have a supporting wife that, has an understanding of what's going on, but then is able to sort of pull me into line when needed.
Yeah.
So 4 young girls we had one, so we've had the kids through the business journey. So 13 to 7 now. My oldest has just started high school, and I'll tell you what, that's been different. 4 girls and 1 in year 7.
What's harder, business or teenage daughter going into high school?
Oh, my oldest is a beautiful girl, and she's actually pretty easy to manage. So still business for now, but
time will tell.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
What in regards to the business side of things, I mean, you've been incredibly tenacious, sticking at the acquisition side of things, building a business at scale. Then at the same time, is it growing a fast-growing family? So fast-growing businesses, fast-growing family as well.
Yeah.
In your mind, what is it that has enabled you to do that? What is it that's driving you? Is there an end goal to all of this? What's the future look like for Luke Eagle?
Yeah, so initially it was opportunity led. There was an opportunity there. There was desire for being my own boss, having the own business and things like that. And look, there was definitely always within the business planning, it involved working with capital providers. It was likely going to be private equity, acquisitions, then hopefully a planned exit along the way. Look, It hasn't all gone to the initial plan, which is fine. You work with what opportunities and things are in front of you. To answer the question, what is the exit or what is the sort of the end goal? I'm actually not sure.
Right.
Still young, still working on what opportunities are ahead of me and making decisions on what doors are open and what are closed and how do I open them.
Yeah, right.
The ones that are closed. So,
What, by way of your experience now, going through all of that, through the rapid growth of your brokerage, through the acquisition side of things, working with local teams, offshore teams, you got a sporting background, you've grown up around sport and still involved in sport. What would you say is your management style now? How is that, and has that changed over the last 10 years?
Yeah. Has it changed? Well, the staff will tell you the answer, but I'll give you.
I've got a whole bunch of negatives actually here.
Yeah, I'll give you my opinion. Look, I don't think it has. I'm definitely someone that's tried to be empowering of people. Not to take control, not to be making all the decisions, bringing people along the ride, which has probably been the main sort of reason for success, so to speak, is because they've been on the journey. And, they have been the reason for success, if we call it success.
Yep.
So empowering, coaching, motivating, and working together. I never, those that were working in the business and still now, it's working as a team.
Yep.
Definitely sort of try and stay away from that hierarchical approach, and involve everybody in the decision making. Trying to make decisions quickly. And sometimes there's a situation I've just got to make a quick decision and get it. So it's not sort of that delayed approach where everything's sort of going ahead as a team and things like that, but definitely giving them the feeling of being involved and it being their business as well. So probably some lessons I did learn in there is maybe getting too close to some of the staff and creating it too much of a family.
Yep.
But at the same time, when you're developing personal relationships, and you do have a meaningful relationship and you've got a caring relationship with those individuals, it's a difficult one to manage.
Yeah, it is.
But, the landscape that I'm working in now within a business, 600 sort of plus staff, it's very difficult to then have that same level of relationship across the business. So that's been a learning experience at the same time.
Yeah, it would be, for sure. Yeah, you've gone from sort of something, knowing what everyone has for breakfast, to all of a sudden in a really big organisation where, it's ever evolving, new brands, new brands being acquired by the week, by the month, would be very, very interesting. As a fly on the wall, that would be fascinating. Do you think that having gone through all of the growth that you've gone through, and, I appreciate that the success is still ahead of you by the look of things. You've got a long road ahead of you, a long career still ahead of you. What are perhaps some of the perceived ideas you had, whether it's about international or local staff? What are some of the perceived challenges versus perhaps the reality of what you experienced by way of that, whether that was the offshore team or local? Was there anything there that you thought would be more difficult perhaps than it was? What's your view there?
I think one thing there is sort of the perceived or the perception of the offshore workforce. I was able to fly under the radar and still do in regards to having an offshore workforce that is unknown that they're offshore.
Right.
So they're performing all of the same tasks, duties, engagements than what local staff are.
And you've done that how? By way of hiring, do you think? Or
Yeah, definitely from the hiring piece. And that really comes from then the engagement that I've had and still got with ASW in regards to then the triaging of the applicants.
Yep.
A lot of the applicants that I've got now have got insurance experience, so they've worked at insurance companies in their local region previously, or whatever sort of specialist area marketing or the like. So experience coming in. So there is no reason in regards to then putting them into the position and giving them the empowerment, like I've empowered the others, to give them the sort of the opportunities what they have,
right,
and what they're fulfilling.
Right.
So I think to answer the question from a perception piece, definitely third parties, externals perceive offshore sort of workforce with a bit of stand back, caution, treat differently,
sure,
if we call it, where I would think that those that are dealing with sort of the team that I've got would be treating them the same.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's change lanes for a second. Mate, you've also gone and heading up a non-for-profit charity. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so
because you've got enough time on your hands, you've got a business, you've got 4 daughters, and now you've also got a charitable job.
Yeah, so that's one I sort of wasn't within the business plan. Let's put it that way. So co-founder of a charity run DIPG with my 2 brother-in-laws and sister-in-law as well, who's the chair, Phoebe Dunn. So unfortunately, a loss in the family, loss of a niece to DIPG, which kicked off. My brother-in-law's a professor of medical or cancer research, working in the leukemia sector at the time, but then there was a need for somebody to get involved in this sort of horrible disease.
Yep.
Terminally ill, on diagnosis, and the charity's gone from strength to strength. 2 parts of the charity: the amount that we have fundraised, that we have then contributed to medical research.
Yep.
But to me, just as important is then creating a community for those who have had a loss, and then are diagnosed, to give an understanding of what it is, be attached to people that are in a similar situation, and then creating a community for those. Because at the time when our family, was advised of the news of the diagnosis, there was complete unknown. The Googling, and there was nothing around. It was just a black hole.
Well,
so that's been a success story on that front. So, charity's going strength to strength. You've been very good in participating in a number of fitness events that we've come up with.
Haven't come near the winning post, not even close to the winning post yet. But yeah, it's a, those events, the 100 for Harper event, the one that we've got involved in, that charity is, we've become close to that charity through you, through your involvement, and through your family's involvement, and having heard Matt speak, Matt Dunn a few times speak, who is, an incredible human, and what he's doing. And I can't imagine being a professor in cancer research and the cruel irony of your own daughter, being struck with a brain cancer is just devastating as a father. So we've been really passionate about it through your connection, and then I guess the coincidence then of our gym, being involved through another connection who a gym member, unfortunately lost their daughter. So it's an amazing thing, mate. And I think of all the things you must be proud of, that must sit right up there. I mean, how much funds have you guys raised so far over the journey?
Yeah, so I should know the total amount, but I think it's 5-6 million now.
It's incredible. Well done.
Because of the growth and the momentum that we've got, it's not a situation of, look, it's where we're at now, is where do we need to get to to achieve the outcomes that are the desired outcomes and find a cure. So let's not focus on what we've put in. Let's focus on what we need to get.
Yeah.
And that's what our sights are on.
Yeah.
Not so much what it's doing and sort of celebrating sort of achievements yet. The achievements is finding a cure and making a change, which we're on track.
Yeah,
we're
there's
doing
trials.
some great things there.
Yeah.
There's trials happening. There's other medical advancements, and there's a great bunch of PhD students and other scientists that are working at the Newcastle University that, it's incredible to see what Matt and his team have been able to achieve.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that, you guys and all the families within that DIPG community, it's just incredible.
Yeah, so
it's such a devastating disease.
Yeah, and look, incredibly thankful from, Joe, A.S. White, your gym and the others and everybody that sort of looked from the outside, then got involved in that and just leaned in.
Yeah.
Because, we're now nationally, we're working sort of globally in with different association and forums that are out there and different sort of medical research networks and the like that Matt's heavily involved in at the same time. So from what was just Matt asking for something that needed to be set up for some research to where it is now, that was not planned. That was...
Yeah, God, that's incredible. Oh, mate, you should be very proud. I know I'm proud of you and what you've done. Gearing back to the business side, young business leaders coming into it, young brokers who are starting their own business, what advice would you give a young business leader or a young broker perhaps who's either early in their career, you having gone through the experience that you have, what are perhaps some of the things that you'd suggest they could take away from your experience?
Yeah. I see a lot of the moment get caught up in the business ownership and the opportunities from a business perspective and losing the focus on their customers.
Right.
Always keep them as the number one. Keep them the number one and everything from the business will happen in the background.
Right.
It'll take care of itself. If you're servicing the customer and you're servicing the revenue, worry about the rest later.
Bit of Jeff Bezos about that approach. It really just becomes about the customer, right?
It just focus on the customer, and everything will take care of itself in the background. We're a very simple business model, and that is the importance where you see in the market at the moment a number are getting caught up in non-customer related activities, where I think could get them unstuck later on. And that was definitely a situation for me where there was so much going on outside of the customer transaction, which, it was a tough juggle to make sure that I was doing that outside of the customer needs.
Yep.
And ensuring that we as a business were maintaining a high level of customer service, because the level of customer service was then going to be the output of the success of the business itself. So that was always definitely what had to happen. And it was non-negotiable.
Good advice.
So, yeah.
Good on you. Any parting words? I think you've done a pretty good job, mate. I got to say, as a guy, having witnessed you kick off the brokerage a long time ago, as a startup, to then going through the growth you've gone through, then a private equity event and starting a non-for-profit, with your family and raising $5-6 million.
Yeah.
Mate, there's a lot of value that people can get from your story. So, mate, thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you. And look, I definitely maybe don't take the time to reflect on, look, I'm very appreciative of your kind words of maybe what that is. So maybe that's a learning for me at the same time.
Yeah, well, I think one thing that most of the business leaders who I speak to have in common is they're very forward facing. They're constantly focusing on the next task, the next goal, the next objective. And very rarely do they myself included, stop and go, oh, yeah, things have been going pretty well, and appreciate what they've achieved already. So, mate, appreciate you got a long road ahead of you, but, I'm really admired what you've been able to achieve. Question for you, mate, from Cassie, the CEO of Riley's and Associates, Cassie Riley.
Cassie goes easy on me.
She's a jet. Cassie wants to know, at this stage of your life, how do you define what success is, and has that changed?
Okay, it has. Very early in the piece, I had set myself the challenge, set myself the task in regards to sort of financial goals, objectives, and sort of business plans and structures and the like, which it was just a headspace that nothing was going to stop from achieving those. Young kids come along, business grows, things change financially. So what was success then to what's success now, it has changed. And I think for any parent out there, I think they would prioritise what success means, and it would be around parenthood, and being a parent to your children, and who you are in presenting as a parent, and your influence then on your parenting to the children as that comes. So success is more around the balance and how I can sort of be and what I'm providing as a father.
Yeah, be the best dad.
Yeah,
it's interesting, right? I think that certainly when you have kids, it goes from probably more selfish, ego metric related, numbers, vanity metrics to how do you be the best dad you possibly can?
And look, happy to admit that my wife will tell you all of those as well. She was the one that pulled me into line from that perspective, but definitely changed along the way.
Yeah. Do you have a question handy maybe for the next guest?
Yeah. So probably something I'd ask is, on reflection, is there something that you would have done differently?
Okay.
Let's see where that goes.
I'd like to hear your answer to that.
Oh, don't. Would have done differently.
What would you have done differently in business, perhaps?
Yeah, so in business, I was very quick, and maybe didn't take the time in regards to my decision making, with sort of some of the large sort of transactional financial sort of decisions.
Yep.
I was just very gung-ho. And I think on reflection, if I was there again, I would take the time to relax, collect myself, and then probably communicate with those stakeholders probably a bit differently.
Right.
Because, I was very aggressive and gung-ho.
Do your due diligence.
Correct. Probably wouldn't change any of the decisions that I've made, just in regards to my behaviours and attitude at the time.
Yep.
Of those transactions.
Good advice. So well done. Thanks for sharing the story, your journey.
No, thanks very much. It's been good.
And, mate, looking forward to seeing what you do the next 10 years.
Thank you.